Hey everyone, how's it going? Total Level here with another JRPG video, discussion, everything like that, as talking about 8 JRPGs that I personally love that many did not, so, because if you're like me and have been playing JRPGs for a long time, then you're bound to have some that you love that others may not have. Whether it's a game that you played as a kid and it has many great memories for you, is one that checked off all your boxes, or just one where you love the world characters. There are so many fun JRPG experiences out there for everyone that, we're all going to have our different kind of likes, dislikes, preferences, right? So, yeah, I would have picked more, but kind of few things is, one, I want to keep this to one game per series, along with games that I have beaten at least once, along with there were some games that I wasn't too sure about adding on here, because originally I was going to add a game like Xenoblade Chronicles 2, but because that game has really become a lot more favorable over the years, I found that I kind of just, left it or off the board, right? Because, there's like so many other games I could have picked, plus 8 is my favorite number, so why not? So, that's more about me that you know now. So, without further ado, let's talk about these JRPGs that I love, and let me know in the comments which ones you love yourself that doesn't have the greatest reputation within the community. There were many ways for me to go about this one for Final Fantasy, but ultimately I went with Type 0 HD since it's not talked about a whole lot. Now, this isn't among the most hated of Final Fantasies or anything like that. I know people do enjoy this game, but it's usually not a big favorite among many. For me though, I love Type 0, and a big part of that is just the story for me personally behind it. Back in 2015, I went through the darkest time of my life. I was in the hospital for my mental health, weighing at a mere 103 pounds, yes, 103, and only 120 pounds when I got discharged from the hospital. I also, haven't been able to purchase any games of my own with my own money for the last couple years. At this point too, I was very, very low, but after working hard to better myself, a month after I was in the hospital, Type 0 HD came out, and I was volunteering, working, everything like that to where I could finally buy this game, and man, it was just the perfect game I needed during this time. It's funny to say that too, cause, for its time, this was probably the darkest Final Fantasy, not only that I played, but probably the darkest one that came out at the time, right? But so much of this game clicked with me. Yes, I understand the issues people have because of it being a remaster of a PSP game. The camera can be way too close and the controls can be clunky. You have to kind of get used to it, but for me personally, I found it very easy to play. The story of Class Zero trying to protect the crystals was simple yet very effective to me. I was attached to this group of characters despite being named after playing cards, and then kind of, the names for these characters kind of just falling apart because it's after a while, it's okay, you're 7, you're 8, you're 9, and it's why not name 9 Nova or something like that, right? But anyways, even as I was recording gameplay for this game again on my Xbox, since I bought this game again since it was very cheap, right? And I thought, hey, that's a good way to go back and replay this. Man, so many of those fond memories came back to me. This game helped me through some really tough times, and now, part of thanks to this game, after bettering myself, working out at the gym, having a better diet, everything like that, I am so much more happier and way healthier as I now weigh 180 pounds. Next, I want to talk about a Tales of game, and, once again, quite a few different ways I could go about this, but just like Type 0, I went with Zestiria since it's not talked about much, so yeah, I thought I would talk about it. I really enjoyed my time with Zestiria. Yes, I understand the game is quite slow at times, and many didn't really gel with the world or characters, along with some outdated mechanics. Especially when you look at its prequel game coming later with Zestiria, right? Where that game is fantastic and everything, but for me, Zestiria was still so much fun. Something about the characters were really enjoyable to me, as enjoyed kind of the brother-type friendship of Sorey and Mikleo. Some laugh-out-loud moments, especially with Lila, trying to badly hide certain talking subjects, right? It was really fun, and yeah, I really enjoyed traversing the world, exploring these towns and kingdoms, right? And, for its time, I would say the combat was the best in the series, right? Obviously, it's been kind of improved over time, but for Zestiria, I think it had the best combat system, so, while definitely I would put other Tales of games above Zestiria, it wouldn't be in my top 5. I still really loved my time with this game. So the next few we're going to go through are ones that I only played and beat one game in a certain series and all that, and it's why I really enjoyed this one. Starting with Grandia 3, so I know a lot of people just did not like this game, or even ones that did enjoy it found it vastly disappointing, coming off the heels of course, Grandia 1 and 2, which I do have the HD versions of on Steam, and I do plan on playing them sometime, right? But, because this was my first and, first Grandia game that I played, and only one that I beat so far, and the only other Grandia one I played, which was only for a few minutes just to capture quick gameplay of, was when I picked up Grandia 2, the PS2 version, right? So, why do I really love this game? So, first, the music, the soundtrack is fantastic. I really enjoyed this. And the characters, I know a lot of people don't really like the characters in this or find them kind of bland, especially after you kind of get to, a certain part in the game, but I really enjoyed it. There were so many moments I'm laughing out loud of, Yuki and Miranda at it, and when you meet Alfina, and it's just, there were so many fun moments with these characters. It is weird how Miranda is Yuki's mother and all that, because she looks like, she's only a few years older, and even Alfina kind of points this out, that they talk to each other like the brother and sister. It's that part's a little weird, but other than that, simple story of just, Yuki has the dream of flying and everything, and, of course, comes across Alfina and wants to help her too, along with fulfilling his dream of flying, right? So, very basic story, but the gameplay, the combat, so much fun. Really enjoyed this game, even just as I'm recording gameplay again for the first hour or two, right, of this. I'm I want to go back and replay this game again. I really enjoyed this, and again, I feel part of that is because, this was my first experience with Grandia, so this one really stuck out to me. Up next, we have Phantasy Star Universe, so again, this was my first experience with Phantasy Star, along with, one of the few of them that I actually beat. The only other one that I beat over time so far has been Phantasy Star 2, which found that one okay, but man, the random encounters in that game were ridiculous. And I think part of that is because in Phantasy Star 2 they had rookie kind of developer who went a little overboard, a little crazy, right, with the random encounters. But with Phantasy Star Universe, why I really enjoyed this one is, during high school, like, playing on the 360 and everything, I have a friend who, loves Phantasy Star so much, might be their favorite franchise. It's either that or Sonic the Hedgehog, right? And so when, they kind of influenced me into buying this game, and we did kind of the, open beta because we weren't paying monthly for that game, right? But playing that on the 360, just doing simple missions together for a little bit, man, that was a lot of fun. And then playing the main story, like, just had a blast with it. And again, with their influence, like, when you meet someone who's super passionate about something, you become super passionate about it too. Like, it just influences you that much, right? And so Phantasy Star, yeah, it's another one of these simple stories where you're playing as Ethan Weaver, who, kind of despises these guardians who are kind of the protectors of the galaxy, right? And, situation happens where, he ends up helping the guardians to help, his sister, and of course eventually joins the Guardians, right? And again, there's a lot of fun cutscenes. Yes, graphically, nothing to write home about at all with this game, and it's kind of clunky to play these days. Even back then it would have been pretty clunky, but man, again, it's another game where as I'm playing just the first 2 chapters of this game, I'm like, I really want to dive back into this and playing it again. I love how it's set up like, some anime or TV show of this episodic kind, where at the end of each chapter, like, at least on the 360, I know you get like a little preview of like, next time on Phantasy Star Universe, and I just love that, and yeah, really enjoy this game. And now we have Wild Arms 5, which, yeah, another game where this wasn't the first Wild Arms game I played, but it's the only one I beat so far. The first one I ever played was 3, but just didn't play it at the time, or didn't really get into it at the time, I should say. I do plan on playing that at some point because, yeah, people say 3 is probably the best one in this series, or among the top ones anyways. But so once again with Wild Arms 5, because I don't really know too much about the other games, this was kind of my first big dive into Wild Arms finally. And again, simple basic story where the main character is Dean, who wants to be a golem hunter, right? And as he's exploring these, ruins and everything with his childhood best friend Rebecca, they come across a girl named Avril who, doesn't really know her mission, just that she needs to seek out someone named Johnny Appleseed. It's very silly stuff, but man, I just really enjoyed it. As you have this hexagon-type battle system, which looks complicated, but is actually very basic, right? Like, you're just kind of moving from panel to panel and attacking enemies, and if you land on an elemental panel, then you can use, like, magic that influenced by that panel, right? But, I think I also liked it because it's not a super hard game. It's a pretty easy, relaxing game. You'll get points in dungeons too where you beat a certain monster or whatever, and then you can turn off encounters if you want through that dungeon. And yeah, really appreciate stuff like that, right? And the music, like, I think this game didn't have the original composer that composed like all of the Wild Arms games, but this soundtrack is still really good. And yeah, it's just another game that, I don't know, I just fell in love with and again, as I'm recording, it's another one that I want to keep playing more and more of. Next, we have I Am Setsuna. So this is a game that I know a lot of people did enjoy, but most found it kind of okay, decent, right, that I found anyways. But for me, man, this game took me back to a lot of those kind of Super Nintendo era type RPGs of Chrono Trigger and things like that, right? As, yeah, the first game of 3 made by Tokyo RPG Factory, that's it. As, yeah, there's supposed to be a 4th one coming at some point, but who knows when. But yeah, this game you're playing as a mercenary named Indira who's, you know, has to assassinate this Setsuna, and Setsuna kind of, you know, protects you and convinces you to actually be her guardian because she is known as a sacrifice. She's supposed to kind of just, yeah, sacrifice herself for the whole world, right? And the way this game goes, and man, the way the music is, like, yeah, there's no real voice acting, like you get some battle grunts here and there in Japanese, right? But the music just tells the story so much, and you know, it's around, like, I would say a 50-hour game, but it just was such a relaxing experience, right? Of just, you know, a nice one that you could pick up and play in like 30-minute kind of spurts, or one you could just sit down for hours at a time to play, right? And the whole journey of Indira accompanying Setsuna through this, and I'm sure I'm butchering some of these names of Indira and all that, but that's kind of what I'm going with myself. But yeah, just this whole journey going through all these different towns, getting new party members, and yeah, like I said, everything just brought me back to those great Super Nintendo type games. And yeah, I loved I Am Setsuna. I need to check out the other Tokyo RPG Factory games because I did play a bit of Lost Sphere, but yeah, I need to beat that one and then go on to Oninaki. But yeah, really enjoyed I Am Setsuna. Next up we have Star Ocean The Last Hope, or Star Ocean 4. I love this game. I know this was a big one. Like 3 and 4 seem to be very divisive with people because that's when they started to change a lot of elements from the first 2 games, right? But Last Hope I thought was super enjoyable. Yes, it has some pretty cringeworthy you know, voice acting in it, along with some pretty creepy character models, I will say, but man, I don't know, I love this. And also, you got a really dumb name in Edge Maverick, right? But I don't know, like, well, one, the combat is fantastic in this game. It is so fun and addictive, and I love the battle board and everything. And while the character models are kinda you know, some of them, like, I do really enjoy the look of this game, like going from planet to planet, how bright and colorful a lot of these places look and everything. It's just really pleasing to look at, and I don't know, I think this game gets a really bad rap when I don't think it deserves it, because there's still a lot of things to enjoy about it, you know, some really fun mini games. Yes, if you want to 100% this game, get every like achievement, trophy, whatever, the game is going to make you rip your hair out because you need to beat the game like 3 times over. You need a lot of RNG luck for that, but if you're just playing through the game, you're going to have a lot of fun with this. It does get quite difficult pretty early on, like I would say once you get to about the 2nd or 3rd kind of main boss, once status ailments really become a thing, it does get pretty tough. But if you stick with it, I think a lot of people will find a lot of fun with this game. And the last game we have here is Ni no Kuni 2 Revenant Kingdom, and just like Star Ocean The Last Hope, I think this game gets quite the bad rep. Yes, I do enjoy the first game more, but I still think Ni no Kuni 2 is a really fun time. For one, I think the combat is much better in this game, as you got a full kind of action-oriented combat style compared to the semi-action turn-based that you got in the first game, right? As, yes, I do miss kind of the Pokemon style of getting these familiars and things like that, where Ni no Kuni 2 uses a more traditional JRPG style of getting new party members and things like that, right? But I do enjoy the combat more. The world was, I just thought was a lot of fun to explore, just like the first game. You know, the characters, while it takes a while to get used to the characters, once you get into the story, man, they really grow on you, because the way the story is told, it just kind of throws things at you at the very start, and it's like, oh, I'm supposed to care about all these characters and everything that's happening right away, right? So yeah, it does take a while to, you know, build up that love for these guys, but man, like, once you do, like, they are a lot of fun characters in this, and fun little towns you get to visit, building your kingdom, which I will say, I wish the kingdom building gave you a lot more options, right? Because, yeah, this game doesn't give you a whole lot of options, it's very linear, along with having these weird kind of forced real-time strategy moments where, yeah, it's a basic real-time strategy, but it's kind of weird how they do it with this overworld and chibi style, right? But you know, luckily those ones are pretty easy to get through, and you only have to do a few to get through the actual story. But yeah, I don't know, I just really loved Ni no Kuni 2, and yeah, it's a game that I wish people would give another shot to, because if you stick with it, I think there's a lot for people to really enjoy with this game. And so those are my 8 JRPGs that I love that many people did not. So what do you think? Do you agree, disagree with my list? Again, I would love to hear all your thoughts, all your favorite kind of JRPGs that you really enjoyed that maybe, you know, again, not necessarily people hated, but people may not have loved it quite like you did, right? So yeah, I would love to hear all your thoughts on this, and I'll see you next time, everyone, for more JRPG videos and other videos I do on my channel. Alright, thanks, have a great rest of your day. Hey everyone, hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to leave a like and comment, and subscribe if you want to see more, or if you just want to see any of my skits and then nothing else and leave the video, that's fine too. Thanks everyone, take care.